This is Eddie Rye Jr. sitting in for Reverend Harriet Walden. Uh, she is recouping. She sounds good. I talked to her on the phone, so I'm sure she'll be back next week if she so desires. But she sounds good, and please keep hope alive. And that's why I'm sitting in this chair for her today. With so many things happening, I couldn't pass up this opportunity. We got some real good things happening, and we also got some issues we have to deal with. Uh, I had the privilege of watching my daughter Angela Rye on CNN a little while ago, and we still have white members of Congress saying that Kamala Harris is a DEI appointment. Now, here's a lady that's been a prosecuting attorney for a county in California, attorney general, won a statewide election for attorney general of California, won a statewide election for U.S. Senate, has spent 3.5 years as a vice president, one of the most successful presidential uh, eras ever. Which you look and see what President Biden has done for this city. And I mean, with not only this city but this country. So we still have to deal with the fact that if it's a person of color, it's DEI, specifically if it's a black person. Well, Kamala Harris is half Indian, and her mother was from India, and her dad was from Jamaica. And our consul general for the Northwest is Attorney Ray Connell. And we're going to have Ray on pretty soon to talk about that. He's proud. And my next guest, Ram Dixit, who is a president of the MLK Gandhi Empowerment Initiative, and want to talk to him, a little bit about his feelings about a person that's half of his sisterhood. Want to see what Ram, what is your impressions and what do you think about Vice President Kamala Harris's possibilities to be the next president? Well, I guess Ram fell off, so let's go to Hayward Evans then.
Eddie, thank you for having me here on the show. I think I think Vice President Harris is going to do absolutely fantastic. And I sort of heard it through the grapevine. They had a women's connection a couple of days ago, and it started with like 20 or 30,000 women, and it ended up 1 million across this nation on the call regarding her campaign. And a few of the people I know, and I'm not going to mention any names, they were sending checks. Bless her heart. I think I think she's going to give President Trump and this nation a run for its money, and it's going to pull back some of these veils. This whole thing, what you were mentioning, diversity and inclusion, it's like that doesn't strengthen the nation, and they're going to try to use that as a moral evil. What is this about? Absolutely ridiculous. And these folks are just reaching for straws, in my opinion, Eddie.
Okay, okay, we Ram is getting hooked back up, but Hayward, to see this elected official saying that Kamala Harris was a DEI. I mean, I guess as far as he and the MAGA crowd goes, if you're not white, you're not right. So we know that there are a significant number of poor and uneducated whites in this country, like a lot of other people are not poor and uneducated. But the thing about it is that when you have someone in the White House, like President Biden was trying to do, and unfortunately, I must admit, African Americans did not get our share of the infrastructure money. We still fighting over that. And, we shouldn't be having that kind of fight being in a blue state. But once again, it's something that happened. We have elections coming up. Hopefully, some things will change. But until I see, like numbers don't have a personality. So when I see our numbers where they should be, then I'll be satisfied. But I'm really disappointed the fact that decertified companies continue to operate with their contracts. People who falsified actually committed fraud, but we can't get Attorney General Merrick Garland to even acknowledge that for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but he will not investigate any discrimination of complaints brought on by African descendants of United States enslaved. So we talk about reparations. We got to talk about our present conditions right here and now, because of the fact that some people think, well, they want something for nothing. Well, how can you call 256 years of slavery, dying in every war, nothing, when, as my daughter say, we built this joint for free. So that's why Project 2025 and Ron DeSantis and folks, they don't want the history taught, especially Black history. They don't want to know about how we were treated. They don't know how we went to war and came back to segregation, degradation, and humiliation. So that's just the truth. And even if they try to take our history out of the schools, then we have to insist that in our churches or in our own private schools, this is taught. And it really benefits everyone that they don't, it's unfortunate, they don't want younger whites to understand the atrocities that Blacks, African descent of the United States enslaved in this country face. It's really unfortunate because Black history is American history.
You know, like you said, the truth is the truth. Come on. And that's why it's so important. People like you, Eddie, Reverend Walden, Bob Armstead, it's so important that we have people out here on the front line. Too many people, not to throw water on it, get apathetic. They sit on back and say, oh, well, let it be, let it be. No, we have a responsibility. We have an opportunity to change laws, change legislation. And if we're not, look at how long did it take for the governor to sign that executive order? You, Eddie, you were in his face for over a year with Jesse Weinberg and everybody else. Come on. And Winona took over a year, but got it through. Granted, it might take a little while, but the fact is, once you give up the fight, then you know the outcome. You lose. So no, we will march strong and be proud and keep busy. Hey, and just to remind the listenership, August 28th is the 61st anniversary of the March on Washington. So now it's time to think about what Eddie was pointing out. 2025 is very real. And this conservative element, they have serious money and they're doing everything they can to reinforce their power. And we're looking at a second Jim Crow. And that's straight up scary. To me, Eddie, that's straight up scary. Second Jim Crow and what these people are proposing. How are you not going to teach Black history? How are you not going to teach? That's U.S. American history. Tell the truth. Hey, live up to the truth and keep on stepping in life to move forward. Because once we start lying to ourselves as a nation, all we're going to do is kick the can down the road, and then there will be turbulence and turmoil in this nation. We don't need any more separation. I mean, the past President Trump's done enough to divide this nation and giving carte blanche for people to be straight up saying racism's okay because it's how you feel. So it's okay that you don't hire these Blacks now. When you have these major firms saying the Supreme Court says diversity, equity, and inclusion is unconstitutional, that's just insane to me. Rom, how are you, my friend?
Hey guys.
So Ron finally got on. We was talking about our nominee for anyway, I think she's going to be the nominee for the Democratic presidency, and that's Kamala Harris. And we know that you guys, you're some lineage in your wife's family and Kamala's family go back. So everybody, this is Ron Dixit. Ron is the president of the MLK Gandhi Empowerment Initiative, and he's also a justice fighter. But before we talk about MLK Gandhi, we're talking about Kamala Harris, the possibilities, the enthusiasm that she's generated because people are kind of laid back. Well, we don't know, but it seems to have changed. But you saw the guy on CNN earlier today when Angela was on, and he was asked about Kamala Harris in the southern, wherever he's from, said she's a DEI hire. DEI to be the prosecuting attorney for San Francisco County, to be the attorney general for California statewide election, to be the U.S. Senator, a statewide election, to be the vice president for 3.5 years. Way more experience than that racist had that made that comment.
And you know what? I wish everybody in this country were the caliber of our vice president, because as you said, Eddie, somebody who is that accomplished with that kind of a track record, saying it was a gimme and, she's a DEI hire, I don't even know what to say. But I got to say this, guys, over the weekend when, she's now in the running for the nomination, I am so thrilled. I can tell you, I think the Indian American community, we are so thrilled and jazzed because, on a personal note, her mom For those of you who may or may not know, like Vice President Harris, Kamala Harris, she is half Indian. Dad's Jamaican, mom's Indian. India is a huge country, it's a subcontinent. And her mom, ironically, she is from a state called Tamil Nadu in South India, where Chennai or Madras is based out of. And my wife is from the same town. So same town as Kamala Harris's mom. So, yeah, for whatever it's worth, I got this warm, fuzzy feeling said, hey, somebody from my wife's hometown, she's going to be the next president of these United States. And that is kind of so cool. And like when she was campaigning, when she was running with President Biden, if you went to those places in India, there were people in India offering prayers that the ticket, it wasn't about, I hope Joe Biden wins. It's, we hope Kamala wins.
Mhm.
And so we're excited, super excited.
Well, I talked to the Jamaican Consul General for the Northwest this morning, Attorney Raymond Connell. Wasn't able to be on today, but I want to have you meet him, Ron, because that's really MLK Gandhi right there. But
Yeah.
he informed me that some of Vice President Harris's family lives in the Seattle area. And
Indeed.
her dad is from Jamaica, and that's why I mentioned Raymond Connell, the
Hmm.
Consul General for Jamaica for the Northwest. So that's very interesting, and I'm very excited about it. But I mean, this whole thing, like this bigot, this a member of Congress had to say on CNN today. You heard it.
And Eddie, here's the other thing that you pronounce her name correctly. It's Kamala, right?
Mhm.
And Kamala is a Sanskrit word. It's an ancient Indian language, and it means flower. It's the Sanskrit name for the lotus flower, right? So some of these people, I was listening to the convention, the RNC convention, and I saw people go out of their way to mispronounce her name. And people make mistakes, sure. It almost felt like it was deliberate. People who should know how to pronounce her name, they do it just to make her, just to other her. And you know what? She's one of us. And she's going to make such a huge difference to the community, to our country, not even to our country, because we need people like her.
I definitely agree, Ron Dixit. And like I said, Raymond Connell is very proud as well. And, to have you here and also to have, and, Hayward, just last Monday, we were down at the India Visa Center. The grand opening was last Monday. Mayor Bruce Hero was there,
Yeah.
Port Commissioner Sam Cho, and the lady in the white jacket, her name was Banata Slater.
Vandana Slater.
Yeah, she's a state representative from
Yeah.
the 48th district. Yeah. So anyway, that's happening, and the Indian Council opened up, and I was invited down. As a matter of fact, got a chance to all become friends with the Council General,
Yeah.
Prakash Gupta, and so we got little flicks on my Facebook page about the festivities last Monday. And hopefully we'll be having the same thing happening in a couple of months with MLK Gandhi. And Ron, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about MLK Gandhi?
Yeah, because guys, just by way of background, I've spent probably 30 some odd years in high tech. Large companies, small companies, worked around the world. And here's the thing about tech. You have a lot of white folks, brown folks, folks from every color of the rainbow, except for African Americans. You don't have a whole lot of black folks. And what we're trying to do, MLK Gandhi, is it's Indian Americans coming together with our African American Black brothers and sisters. And really, how do we drive the technology skilling for these next generation technologies? What's the hottest thing today in the market? It's AI. It's all about cloud. It's all about AI. It's all about security because those three technologies, that's going to drive growth around the world for the next 25 years. It's going to transform work. And what we're trying to do through MLK Gandhi is take that training around AI, cloud, and security to underserved, underrepresented communities, African American, other communities of color, where historically opportunities never presented themselves. And really, one, make that skilling happen, make that training happen. And the other really exciting thing about MLK Gandhi is we're also working with companies, large and small, where they're going to be coming and they're going to be interviewing our students who go through MLK Gandhi for jobs. So again, it's not about DEI. It's not about giving anybody freebies. It's about our students are going to go through this training. They're going to earn the right to be at the table. They're going to be the best. They're going to be better than other people. And they're going to secure these next generation high paying jobs. So super excited, super thrilled. And, Eddie, did you share with our audience where we're going to have it? We were just there this morning and we've committed on space. And,
Yeah, go right ahead.
we're going to be in Kent at the New Christian Fellowship,
New Beginnings Christian Fellowship.
New Beginnings Christian Fellowship Church. Key thing, guys, everybody, we want to take this to where the community is. We want to go where our students are going to be, and we are tailoring this to the needs of the community. So I'm super excited that we've gotten to the point where we've committed on the space. We're going to be having classes to start with 2 days a week. There's going to be labs, hands-on training. There's going to be mentorship. I'm also talking to companies to come in during the training to teach the students, how do you interview? What does high tech look for? How do you successfully complete an interview? Do you get a job? How do you network? How do you really taking a holistic approach? So, we're starting to make some really good progress here.
What if a person has a felony? Are they able to get the training and get positions as well?
Absolutely. Look, I think all of us know, how the system works. Somebody, who might not have change, who might, they take a Coke or something, they threw the rule book at them and they put them in the system. Whereas somebody else, they could go steal a car. They're not going to be in the system. So everybody's welcome. Now, all we do is based on their circumstance in life, whether they interview for a large tech company or whether they interview for a smaller tech company or whether they interview for tech-related jobs in the government, it's going to vary based on where they are. But for the training, everybody's welcome. And in fact, I want to encourage everybody. If somebody out there listening to this, if you've been in the system for whatever reason, everybody deserves a second chance. As long as we get the referral from our advisory board. Again, the advisory board are folks from the community, leaders of faith, pastors, community people, etc. Everybody's welcome. We do not discriminate.
And Ron, can you give an idea like how long would the training be and what are some of the possibilities? Like we mentioned, a person with a felony record might not be able to go in the front door of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, or Facebook, but there's also opportunities with subcontractors of those companies, correct?
Yeah, because here's how the IT system works, the marketplace works, right? You've got some very large companies, and yeah, they've got very high bars, standards in terms of coming in, not just from a capability standpoint, but yeah, if you've got a felony or a misdemeanor, yeah, sometimes it can be a challenge getting jobs at those companies. But what happens is you've got tens of thousands, if not millions of customers. And there's a lot of work out there for what's called systems integration or building IT systems. It's how do you take the software that these large technology companies create and how do you customize it and make it useful for the end customer? And there are tens of thousands of companies that do that kind of work. Now, these jobs, they're high-paying six-figure jobs. And as you go up in seniority, you're talking about $200,000-$300,000 type of jobs. And so our graduates.
Let's say that again, $200,000 to $300,000 a year?
People with experience in this space, they can make $200,000, $300,000. The starting salaries are six figures, at least $100,000 with benefits, even at a smaller company. So think about that. Now, somebody who goes through, gets the right training and skilling on things like AI, cloud, security, they're looking at six-figure jobs. And it's not a job, it's a career. They start to build a career. And that's different, right? Because I see this very differently, Eddie. What I want us to be able to do through MLK Gandhi is create a career path for our students. So they might get in as a 100K job, but we want to create that roadmap where they go from 100K and grow from there. So it's not some sort of a tactical, I do a job, I might have a job today and I lose the job tomorrow. We're trying to create transferable skills for a long-term career, high paying. And the other thing I do want to call out here, students who learn these types of skills, the other thing that they do is they start their own consulting companies. They start their own technology companies. Because if I think about the community, lots of businesses starting up, everybody needs technology. Everybody needs to be able to apply AI and cloud and leverage these technologies. Otherwise, companies die. Somebody's got to go in and implement that and light that up, make that real. I want it to be our students.
The participants in our program, what advantages they have? I mean, there's a lot of people in the technology industry already, but you've mentioned latest phases of AI and cloud and security. Could you just briefly touch on each one of those?
See, here's the thing. If you think about AI, it is so new. You don't have people with those skills in the market. And I want to be clear, people who go through MLK Gandhi, our program, they're not going to be architects or they're not going to be systems engineers. That's really not the
With your partner, she's moving out of clean.
Somebody needs to get on mute.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, no worries. See, it's not about creating systems engineers or deep architect type of technologists. MLK Gandhi is going to be all about how do you leverage that technology and how do you work with businesses to apply that technology to accelerate the business, to grow the business. Now, you asked me a really good question, Eddie. What's the advantage that the community has that others might not have, right? You need people from within the community who understands the environment, the circumstances in the community, who understands the business needs of the community to really be able to create those solutions that those businesses need. So today, what's happening is you've got people from all over the world. They are trying to come up to speed on these technologies, AI and cloud and creating applications, etc. And then what these companies do is they say, hey, we can't find people locally. We can't find people locally with these skills. So we're going to import people. Well, we're going to get people from outside to do these jobs. And hey, I've got nothing against people from outside. More the merrier. That's what makes America strong. Lots of people coming in our diversity. But I think if we've got people from within the community, people who live here, our neighbors, our friends, right? If they get the training and they get these jobs, they can move faster, they understand these companies better, and they can be more responsive. And so businesses benefit and our students benefit.
Well, Ron, that's excellent. The start date still might be the first part of October. I want you to hold on for a minute. There's a young lady I want to get on the air. Ron, hold with me. Hayward, stay on. Miss Chardonnay Beaver, are you on? Author of Chardonnay Beaver. I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah, Hayward Evans and Ron Dixit on the air with us. I was just talking about MLK Gandhi. Chardonnay Beaver is an author. She had a book signing on Saturday at Mount Zion. She also had a film that was presented, and I had a little part in it, but she did an outstanding job. So she also is going to be one of the MCs at the August 28th, 61st anniversary of 1963 March on Washington. And I think we'll use that picture of Andrea, my wife, and Angela when she was 3 years, 10 months old, holding the sign up. That was the 20th anniversary. Now here it is,
Wow.
41 years later, the same day fighting for the same cause. So, Chardonnay, why don't you explain, let our listeners know on the Mother's Justice Show about what happened on Saturday.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone's doing well this Monday afternoon. Saturday was a ball. I'm so grateful that you were able to come out, and for all community who was able to join. We had over 60 people there. It was an intimate space in Mount Zion's Fellowship Hall, but Saturday, the 20th, was the first screening of a film that I did in association with the McKinney Center titled Fulfill the Promise, The Rise, the Fall, and the Promise. And alongside the screening, I also had my first book, which came out in May, the screening of the film, but also the signing of the book. And so people were able to purchase the book there and also get their book signed. It was exciting, and we had a lot of familiar faces like yourself, Eddie Rye, as well as people who were featured in the film, like Dr. Norwood Brooks and Reverend Dr. Laverne Hall, Reverend Dr. Phyllis Belmonte, Sade Moore, who had intentions to make it but wasn't able to make it that day, Dr. Lewis, as well as countless others. So it was really great. Snacks was provided, and as well as donations from Ezel's Chicken. Big thanks to Lewis Rudd as well as Terrell at Catfish Corner. And it was just a time. It was a time. I enjoyed myself, and we were there from 2 to 5 p.m. So yeah, the film's great. I'm excited for people to see it. The McKinney Center is planning the next screening, and so please stay tuned for that in late August.
I wanted to get your impressions on the politicals scene right now with, I don't know if you heard or not, but a white congressman said that Vice President Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. I mean, how you get a DEI hire from being the county prosecutor to win the statewide election for attorney general, win a statewide election for U.S. Senator, and then become the vice president for 3.5 years. Still, she's a DEI because she's not white. Is that what's really happening?
It's so odd. You know, I studied political science at the UW. That was one of my majors I got my degree in. And it's so wild to me because I know that she had ran herself for the 2020 elections, right? So you look at her credentials and they speak for itself, as well as just her time in office thus far. You know, I think we're in such a major time of transition, and I think that we have to be really careful about the language that we use, not to just treat people as rubber stamps, but to actually have voice and space. So yeah, wow, that was a very bold statement.
Well, you know, racism has no boundaries when it comes down to for expression. So, you know, it just automatically comes out. But you got to think that someone really is not. I mean, could this man not know anything? As she's been the vice president for 3.5 years, obviously during the campaign, all of her credentials were laid out. You know, as a matter of fact, she ran in 2020 herself. I have a picture with it. I put up on Facebook today that we were at the Congressional Black Caucus annual Phoenix Awards dinner, and so matter of fact, her and her aide walked past me, and because my daughter, they said, "Oh, that's Angela Rye's dad." So she said, "Oh, it is. I want to meet him." So she came back to take the picture, and then before I know it, my wife said, "Oh, let me get one too." But anyway, one was just So yeah,
well, my cousin Fitzgerald, he's going into his second year at Morehouse, and he had called me about, you know, I have prepping for finals, but Kamala Harris is coming to visit us, which I think is great that she did an HBCU run with different students, you know, because she's a HBCU alum herself. Howard University. And so he got to see her speak. And I think the biggest thing I took away from him talking was how charismatic she was. So yeah, it's unfortunate. People are I think the guns come out, right? The guns come out now because she's officially a nominee. Yeah.
They will throw everything at her,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I mean, look who I have on today. So I mean, we know how that went. We know how that went.
Now you need Kamala now. That's what you need.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, I need to find someone who puts together t-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find me somebody. Find me somebody.
Chardonnay is one of our MCs. Like I said, she'll be August 28th. Hayward, as a matter of fact, Rom is going to be one of the speakers on the August 28th.
Oh, nice.
61st anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And it was for African Americans at the time, Ron. We didn't have civil rights to 64, voting rights to 65. And as you know, between the U.S. Supremeless Court, those rights are being chipped away at every day, every hour, as far as that goes.
Indeed.
So, Chardonnay, I really thank you is there anything else you'd like to share with us? You got time to hang on or what?
Yeah, well, I want to share with everyone that for those who weren't able to get my book at the screening and the book signing, you'll be able to find it on Barnes & Noble as well as on Amazon.com. Just type in my first and last name, Chardonnay Beaver. And I want to thank everyone who was able to come out and to attend, as well as the screening. There'll be further screenings this summer and this fall. So please look out for that. I'm sure you're going to see it in my family's paper, The Facts. So thank you so much for having me today.
Hey, Chardonnay, are you going to be able to do some signing at the 61st anniversary of the March on Washington?
Well, put me in the program. I'll bring some copies.
I get mine there. You'll get mine there.
Put me in the program. I'll bring some copies. Yes, that'd be cool.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, so Chardonnay, thank you very much, and Hayward and I will have a Zoom call with all the participants on the August 28th event. So you'll be looking forward to that in probably a couple of weeks because we're gonna move forward. We're gonna use this picture of and like I said, of Angela when she was 3 years, 10 months old, her mother, 41 years ago, and here we are fighting for the same thing 41 years later. Don't put your dukes down. Just get ready to keep struggling because long time ago, our people had it real hard when you had to drink out of a colored water fountain, get on the back of the bus, put your money on the front end, then walk around to the back. See, I left Shreveport, Louisiana when I was 10 years old, so I know all about that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of that was touched on in the film, right? With the urban renewal program, even our own local history, the discrimination that was faced. So that's why I feel like people got to get in and learn that history.
Urban renewal was black removal.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's what that was. All right, then. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Rev Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
Start your Wednesday mornings off with a dose of courage. I'm Suzanne Weller. I'm hosting a new show called The Courage Effect. We'll be talking about what courage looks like, how we navigate what's getting in our way, and the opportunities that surface when we step out of our comfort zone. Each week, a new guest will join me to share stories about how they faced their fears, taken risks, and realized amazing things as a result. Please join us for The Courage Effect here on 1150 a.m. KKNW, Wednesdays at 8 a.m.
Need help getting started with self-help? You came to the right place. Alternative Talk, 1150.
All right, Eddie Rye back at the Mother's Justice Show for Reverend Dr. Harriet Walden, who is on leave this week. And I still have Hayward Evans, co-convener of the Seattle MLK, Seattle Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration and Continuation Committee, and also is co-convening the 61st anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where African Americans the next year, through that effort, got our civil rights, and the following year, 1965, got our voting rights, and they're being made mincemeat of right now by the U.S. Supremeless Court. So, and then Ron Dixit, who is the president of the MLK County Empowerment Initiative, a tech guy who is going to be leading some people to new opportunities through this program that will begin at New Beginnings Christian Fellowship in Kent, Washington. More details will be coming forward soon. We have about, I guess, a couple of months before the actual start date of the program. But Ram is also going to be one of the featured speakers at the 61st anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington. So, Ram, let's hear you comment on some civil rights issues that you've been dealing with, that you've observed. I want to hear about your observations as well.
It's interesting, guys. When we talk about the civil rights, voting rights, and the struggles of Dr. King, I'll tell you from my perspective. Look, my dad immigrated to this country back in 1970, I've grown up here. This is my home as much as it's anybody else's. But I think about civil rights. That's what opened the door for people like my dad, for immigrants from Asia and other parts of the world to actually come into this country, to make this country a home. And so Indian Americans, like all other immigrant communities from Asia, non-European immigrant communities, owe a lot to civil rights. Because while civil rights, Eddie, gave African Americans the right to vote and at least put people on that path towards quote unquote equality, people like me were allowed to set foot in this country legally. So it's a big deal. But to your point, you're going to say something, Eddie.
I'm just going to say that I was just thinking about Nikki Haley's father couldn't get a job and got hired by an HBCU in North Carolina.
Yeah. Hey, when my dad in the 70s, when he was, we grew up in New Jersey, when he was, getting jobs working, he would tell me, son, I've got to be 4 times better than the next guy, not to get a promotion, to keep my job. I've got to be 4 times better, because even then, the other guy who's not half as good as me moves ahead, and I got to work harder than others. And his guidance to me was, you're going to have to work so hard. You got to keep your head down and work hard. That's the only way you're going to come up. But when you do, that's goodness. Work hard. And you also asked me an interesting question I've been pondering over around my recent experiences. For those of you who don't know, or hopefully a lot of the community knows, Congressman Adam Smith and Senator Patty Murray, huge supporters of MLK Gandhi Empowerment Initiative. This initiative would not have taken shape but for the efforts, support, and proactive pushing of both of these leaders. And so we all owe, gratitude for them for their efforts. But here's the thing, Eddie, you're aware of the challenges we had. The funding was appropriated for our initiative. Congressman Smith and Senator Murray's office, they were like, guys, when is this starting? We want to see progress. When are classes starting? But the amount of slow walking that happened to get the funding released, it was my first time. I looked at that and said, wow. I've got a very senior senator, the number 2 ranking senator in these United States, a very powerful congressman making phone calls saying, guys, well, what's happening here? This has been approved. Why is there such a delay? It took us months to get things released. And, it's just an eye opener. And guys,
I would say you had the Black experience. That's what I have to say.
And the scary thing, if people like us who've got support from very powerful elected leaders have to go through this, it is scary what somebody off the street, somebody who's got no support, very little education, who might be having a struggle in life, what they go through. I can only imagine. I can't even imagine what they go through. And it is tough. It's scary. And, I sincerely hope that folks in the community are going to leverage and make use of MLK Gandhi. For first cohort, everybody, we're thinking about 15 students to start with. But I want to make a very emphatic statement here to everybody listening. We are not going to say no to anybody. If somebody doesn't make the cut for the first cohort, there will be subsequent cohorts. There's going to be a second, there's going to be a third, there's going to be a fourth. We have no age limit. The only thing that we ask for is we need people to have a minimum of a GED or a high school diploma. Because regardless of whatever training somebody gets, we think it's super important you have a high school diploma. It's foundation. Got a high school diploma. Somebody could be in their 40s or 50s. If they're looking to make a change of career, looking for a job that leverages technology, we are here to support you. We are here to deliver training on these topics. Okay?
And you mentioned the latest forms of cloud. You also mentioned security. Do you just briefly touch on that?
Yeah. See, look, think of what is cloud. Everything from what's called M365, Microsoft 365, which is all of how do you use all of the power of the applications that run off of the Azure cloud? How do you create applications that leverage the power of the cloud? A couple of years ago, everything was on premises. All of the software used to sit on somebody's laptop. Today, everything sits up on the cloud. Where you don't have applications that are on the cloud, companies are spending millions and billions of dollars as an industry to move their businesses, to move their applications to the cloud. What we want to teach our students is, what does that mean? How do you do that? What are the gotchas? And so we want to get them on that journey. Security. What's security? Look, whether it's cloud or whether it's AI, the most important thing is making sure things are secure. Eddie, when we met this morning, I'm not going to name company names. The recent IT situation that we've had where companies, airlines, everything went down, the largest IT breach in the history of the world. It wasn't because of a software vendor. It was because somebody installed a bad security patch. Nothing to do with the cloud, nothing to do with the software vendor. I'm not going to name company names. It was about security. Think about that. Security is going to be super critical in the age of AI. It's already super critical in the age of cloud. And what we want to teach our students is, what does that mean? How do you make sure that systems are secure? What does patching mean? Making sure that the systems are secure. That's what we're going to teach them.
Well, that's a very good explanation, and I'm sure that our listeners will be picking up on that and talking to potential students. Now, Hayward, let's go to you. We got the 61st anniversary. It's about a little over a month away. 61st anniversary, 1963 March on Washington. Whoever would have thought that 61 years later, we would still be dealing with the same issues, attacks on voting rights. We had legislation, Supreme Court gutted part of the Voting Rights Act of 65. And what do we have to do? I guess we have to take over the House and the Senate and the White House so we can get some balance on the Supreme Court and enshrine these voting rights, get them codified, really. So go ahead, Hayward.
Well, I was going to say, and that's part of the big fear. If in fact Trump wins, and then you have an opportunity for Clarence Thomas and that other gentleman to retire, they're going to put in conservative elements. We're talking about the next 50 years having laws that are going to be repressive, particularly to people of color, and not just Black Americans, but I'm talking Latinos and immigrant. How can you talk about a whole immigrant population and call them thieves, bandits, murderers, and you're going to have this gentleman establishing the laws to represent our nation and throwing NATO to the curb? NATO is the only reason why we defeated Hitler. It's the only reason why democracy flourishes throughout the nation. Yet Trump is talking about throwing it to the curb and supporting dictatorships. This is very, very serious. Voting in America, very serious.
You're absolutely right. It seems that some of Hitler's stuff is being mimicked by some of the members of the Republican Party.
Hey, Ron, can I just ask you, can you talk about people with certain education qualifications? If you have a master's degree in education, can you still qualify to be part of Martin Luther King Gandhi Empowerment Initiative?
Absolutely. The only qualification I would discourage is somebody has a bachelor's degree in technology. If somebody has a computer science degree, their time can be better spent doing something else. Anything other than that, all are welcome. And anybody who might have a qualification where leveraging technology is going to help them do their job better, they are welcome. If somebody already has a job, I want to say something here. The jobs of tomorrow, the jobs of today and tomorrow is going to, by necessity, need technology. People either need to be able to create technology, applications, etc., or people need to know how to use technology. And both of those groups, people who want to learn how to create new technology, or people who want to learn how to use technology, they are welcome. Because if you don't know how to use technology, you're not going to have a good job. Ultimately, that is going to be just like knowing your ABCs are important. Knowing how to use technology, knowing how to use AI is going to be a prerequisite for the jobs of tomorrow. They are all welcome, regardless of their educational qualification.
And Ron, my question is, if people have different skill sets, are they going to be able just to continue to exploit their skill set or their abilities? Can they move faster than other people in the class, or is everybody going to be at the same level?
So the process that we're going to follow is when students get nominated, myself and other people on the team, we're going to do an interview. We're going to talk to them to understand where they are in that continuum. Some people might know more than others, and others might be just starting out. And we're going to organize the cohorts based on their skill level, based on their needs. And then the training, the classroom training and the exercises in the labs, etc., that's going to be tailored to where they are. Right? Because it can't be a one size fits all.
So people can graduate at different times. Am I correct?
Actually, I'd say this. The level of complexity of what they learn is going to be different. Somebody who might be at an earlier stage of their understanding, they might start with some simpler stuff and move up the complexity chain. Others might start midway through with some of the more harder stuff, but ultimately everybody will get to the same spot. For some, it might take longer than others.
And so from a placement perspective, once I hit that mark, then that's when I start approaching the prospective employers?
Actually, if I get my way and something's fall in place, I'm trying to get the prospective employers to interact with our students while they're getting trained. Because this can't be us training our students in a vacuum, not knowing what companies want. I'm trying to pull companies into the process so we know precisely by the time a student graduates, we want them to be like 90% of what these companies are looking for. And then I'm talking to a number of companies to say, rather than my folks coming to you, why don't you, for a change, come to where these folks are? Build a relationship over the 20, 25 weeks of training. And then they know you've had a chance to get to know them, go through the process of an interview and start hiring them.
Now, Rob, the public agencies that I've been talking to all indicate that they prefer to hire people who have those skills in certain positions. If you're driving a truck or something like that, you might not have to do it. But a lot of stuff that requires paperwork back in the day, so they prefer to have people who have the technology training.
Exactly.
and they'll be willing to come out and also meet with the students. Along would be great to have the employers, but also to have the agencies come out, their employers as well. But I'm talking about the tech companies on one group and then the public agencies on the other. And Hayward and I put together an event as part of the Martin Luther King celebration every year at Garfield, and that is our job fair. We have last year over 50 companies coming out looking for folks, and that's something I think this time around we can highlight MLK Gandhi.
Exactly.
Hopefully, we can have some of the students there who can actually talk to these folks while they're there if they're not already employed.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? We shouldn't think about technology as, hey, how do I get a job at a technology firm, at a tech firm, like a Microsoft or an Amazon or a Google. No, it's not about that. Technology is needed by every company. Every company on the planet is a technology company. Look, is Tesla a car company or a technology company? Tesla has more software engineers. They use more technology than most technology companies. What's Tesla? I don't know. Right?
Well, all I know is the owner of Tesla is a white African racist. I have to tell you that. Elon Musk, he is funding every anti-affirmative action program and effort in the country. So I would not encourage no brothers and sisters to buy a Tesla because you're just funding your own demise.
I will not buy a Tesla, guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So this guy here, he's going to be giving Trump $45 million a month or maybe a week, but he finances Ed Bloom and Steve Miller, who are notorious for filing lawsuits against African Americans from getting to colleges, universities, and also from getting contracts. So that's what kind of guy he is. Now, I know he's popular, but that's what kind of guy he is.
Sure, but look, I'm not going to go into Elon Musk or people, but as a company, and Tesla's not unique in terms of leveraging technology. Every company, Starbucks, they use enormous amounts of technology. Everybody needs technology. So to your point, Eddie, whether it's a public agency, whether it's King County, City of Seattle, City of Bellevue, etc., their employees, if they're employees that can leverage AI and cloud and security, etc., they're going to be way more valuable to these agencies. They're going to be able to deliver services more effectively than somebody who doesn't know how to use technology. And so MLK Gandhi, I'd say we'd be successful if we can get our students to be able to use technology. And if they already have a job, I still want them in MLK because then we teach them how to use technology and then they become way more valuable to their companies. And so hopefully they're going to start moving up the ladder.
So this will be eventually when the classes come out, it'll be something that's like after work a couple of times a week. And then once we get rolling, there'll be other classes coming through at the same time. So at New Beginnings Christian Fellowship. And I guess we'll be going on with Meet the Pastor when they start that again. Hopefully going and make an announcement at the church within the next few weeks, Ron. So
Indeed.
That's great. Been working with, want to get a shout out to Steve, also known as Stephen Gray, in case his mother's listening. Yeah, so he is a COO at New Beginnings Christian Fellowship. We did have a meeting with him this morning. Things seem to be on track, and Ram is attracting some of the top experts in this field to provide the classes and pass the information on to individuals. So we know we're being trained by the best and the brightest in the industry, and they've been there. They know what's happening. So, but I really do appreciate both of you guys today, and we got to make sure that people stay motivated. We know that Kamala will probably be the nominee, but we got to vote from the bottom up, from the school board, city council, county councils, state legislature, congressional, all the way up to the vote for the presidency. And I'm just so happy to see that how the mood has changed in this country once the president, the very successful president, Joe Biden, stepped down to make room for Kamala Harris. And hopefully that will come to fruition. We'll do our part. So Hayward Evans and Ron Dixit, thank y'all very much for being on the Mother's Justice Show. And Rev Walden, you get well soon, and we'll be praying for you.